Hello and welcome to Dad Rocks. Today we're going to cut a piece of Coober Pedy Opal, and we're going to do this a little different than I've done in the past. We're going to start out with the piece of rough. We're going to weigh it. We're going to talk about why I'm doing what I'm doing. Not that it's the best way to do it, it's the way that I do it. And so we'll start out and weigh it. We'll end up weighing the stone or stones that we come out with from that rough, and we'll see what we end up with. And so, without further ado, let's have a look at this thing on the scale. So here's the piece of opal that we're going to be working with. You can see that there's a good color bar going through it. Zoom in a little bit more. You can see a good color bar. It's a little bit, it dips a little bit, so that may affect how we cut it. However, that color bar goes around, it goes completely around the stone, which hopefully that means it's not going to be interrupted with any potch. So we'll start out, this one's going to start out at 30.6 carats. Okay, we're over at the cabin wheels now, and we're going to start out with the 220 grit diamond centered wheel. And since we don't really have to, we already know where the color bar is. Actually we need to cut in. I see that we need to cut into this. So we'll flatten this side a little bit, and we'll flatten that, and then we'll have a look at it and see how we're going to go in on this. So I noticed that there is a second color bar. We're not gonna try to use it, but there is a second color bar that runs right along the bottom edge. Actually, there may be a third one, but what we're gonna look at is this one here, which, as I said, it takes a dip down in here, but across here it looks nice and wide, and so we're going to take off the top here and start easing down into that color bar. See some real nice colors showing through here. We still need to work down to this color bar. You can see we're starting to approach it here. Let's see what happens as we go down there and get close to it. So again, the color bar is going down here, and it's really evident right in here, right in this area where you do not see that color bar. So you do not see those colors popping through there like you do on the other areas of the surface there. Most of the sand spots are out now. Up at this end, I'm as far down as I want to go. I want to work this other end down a little further. So far, all that I'm seeing a problem is going to be right in here, this dark area, if it doesn't clean up. So that dark area does look like it's in there a ways. Everything else looks pretty good on it. So I need to kind of decide what I'm gonna, how I'm gonna take this. It's probably gonna be to take a teardrop or the best oval shape I can get, or semi-oval I can get up to that area right there. Let's take it down a little further before we make that final decision. So what I've decided to do is to come in and take this this is going to be just below, you can see it better on this side. It'll be just before this starts dipping down here. So we'll take it across at that angle and probably round that off a little bit right there. And we'll go from there and see what it gives us to work with. So I'm gonna make a quick cut. Okay, let's come back to this and see. Got a lot more color bar on this side to play with. I'm going to take it down a little bit on that side. Gonna dry out the stone and look and make sure there's no fracture. I don't see any. So we're gonna go on up to the 280 soft wheel. See, this has got color popping in it. It's getting a little bit of sand left off the back. Still a lot of color bar to play with on this side. And it really thins down on the other side, so we're gonna have to watch that. Now let's see what we can get out of this other piece. So we're seeing some dark stuff up here. I don't know if that's going to clear out. There's a secondary color bar as a backup down a little deeper. Let's grind into it and see what happens. This one section looks like it's going to be darker. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this right through here. And then we'll take a stone out of here. We'll get that little stone and we'll get this stone, and that'll probably be scrap, even though it looks really nice. But let me make that cut. So again, we're gonna take off this edge here, round this off down here, and get an oval out of here. And on this piece, yeah, we're gonna take this out just like this. And then we'll get that bigger piece, and then we'll see if that's just gonna be a little bit darker in color or what. So let me fire this up. We'll take care of this first. I decided to go on down to this next color bar on this one. Let's look at this last one. So this is the color bar that we were initially working on. And as I ground the back down, I'm seeing color back here. So we might get lucky and get a two-sided stone. We're gonna dop it up and I'm gonna flatten it back. Now we're gonna dop it up and dome the front of these stones. So, okay, we're gonna start with the smallest stone and go up. Here we go. I'm going to stop on that for this wheel. Okay, here's the last stone. This is the one that I have the most hope for. I think I'm gonna, oh, I didn't have that on. Okay, take it up to 280. Whoops, and it popped off. I'll have to re-dock it. Pretty much right where I want to be on that wheel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and move the camera, and we'll start on the 600 wheel. Okay, 600 wheel, and we'll start with the smallest one. Stop there and go on to 12. The color is really popping in there. And so I'm going to just wrap it up here for that stone. I'm going to go ahead and hit the 3K. So it looks like it's all red flash. The other, I cut through the other colors. It appears that, yeah, there's still some of them in there, but for the most part, that's all red. it's got a little pot spot right here that it's not flashing too much in, but I'm gonna hit it with the 3000. That's where we stop on that. I'm going to hit them right quick with the cerium on the end. Color's not showing quite as well as what I see it under this ring light here, so got a nice polish. We can get a little better with the 50,000 diamond. Okay, and this is the last one here that's got quite a bit of flash going on in it. So let's take that down. Good flash there going on. Okay. Well, let's go over to 50,000 diamond and hit them briefly on that, and we'll be done. Okay, and then we're going to look at this last one here. This is the small one. You can see that color really roll across. Nice red in there too. Some green, some blue, and some orange as well. Okay, and this one, okay, and this is the last one. You can just see this got full spectrum color in it. And it is loaded. But before we go, we got one more thing to do. Okay, and here is the smaller one of the two. And that one gets 1.7 carats. And the larger one gets 6.0 carats. For a total of 7.7 carats between the two. That was what we got out of that rough stone that we started with. But I believe those are some nice, really some nice color on those. Ooh, don't want to lose that now. Happy with it. Well, thanks for joining me today. I'll try to do more videos like this where I start with the rough and go all the way completely through the process. And these two will come up in my short videos in the next few weeks. Again, thank you for joining me. Hope you have a great day today. And take care, and we'll catch you at the next one.